I've been thinking about something lately. I wonder how many women reach a point in their lives where they quietly think, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Maybe you felt that way. Maybe your life looks perfectly fine from the outside. You have a home, a family, a career, people who love you, responsibilities, a life you've worked hard to create. And yet somewhere inside, you feel a little lost. Not necessarily unhappy, just uncertain. You don't quite recognize yourself anymore. And maybe you start wondering, what happened to me? What do I want now? What am I supposed to do with the next chapter of my life? I've experienced versions of that feeling myself, and I think we are very quick to interpret it as a problem. We assume that if we don't know where we're going, we must have gotten off the path. But lately I've been wondering, what if you're not lost? What if you're changing? Let's discuss 4 new ways we can look at these lost feelings. Number 4, sometimes we outgrow the person we thought we were supposed to be. I think we spent a lot of our lives collecting identities. I'm a daughter. I'm a wife. I'm a mother. I'm a business owner. I'm the responsible one. I'm the caretaker. I'm the successful one. I'm the strong one. And there's nothing wrong with any of those identities. They can be beautiful parts of who we are. But sometimes we become so attached to the roles we've played that we don't notice when we've changed underneath them. Maybe something that used to matter enormously to you doesn't matter as much anymore. Maybe the career you once loved doesn't excite you. Maybe you don't want the same things you wanted 10 years ago. Maybe you want more quiet, more creativity, more nature, more time for yourself. And sometimes that can feel frightening. Because if the things that used to define us aren't defining us anymore, then who are we? But perhaps that's not a crisis. Perhaps it's an invitation to discover who you are now, rather than trying to become the person you used to be. Number 3, we expect ourselves to know what's next. I think we're incredibly uncomfortable with not knowing. We want a plan. We want a 5-year goal. We want to know what we're working toward. We want to be able to explain our lives to other people. But there are seasons when you simply don't know. And I've started to wonder if that's actually okay. Maybe we don't always need to know what the next 5 years look like. Maybe we only need to know the next step. There's something about that idea that I find very comforting. Because when you don't know the destination, you can become very focused on trying to figure everything out. You research, you plan, you compare, you look at what everyone else is doing. You try to find the perfect answer. But sometimes the answer doesn't come from thinking harder. Sometimes it comes from living for a while, paying attention, trying something, walking in a certain direction and noticing how it feels, and then adjusting. Maybe we don't need a map for the entire journey. We just need enough light to see the next few steps. Number 2, we mistake stillness for stagnation. This one has taken me a while to understand. We're so accustomed to measuring progress that we become uncomfortable when nothing seems to happen. If we're not accomplishing something, we think we're stuck. If we're not moving forward, we think we're falling behind. But nature doesn't work that way. There are seasons when everything appears to slow down. Trees lose their leaves, fields become quiet, seeds disappear beneath the soil, and from the outside it can look like nothing is happening. But that doesn't mean nothing is happening. There are things taking place that we simply can't see yet. And maybe people are like that too. Maybe there are seasons in our lives when we're not meant to be producing something impressive. Maybe we're integrating, recovering, learning, letting go, becoming. And perhaps the quiet seasons aren't wasted time. Perhaps they're preparing us for something we aren't ready to see yet. Number 1, maybe being lost is part of finding yourself. This is a thought I keep coming back to. What if the feeling of being lost isn't necessarily evidence that something has gone wrong? What if it's sometimes the beginning of becoming more honest with ourselves? Because eventually we reach a point where we can't keep living entirely according to someone else's expectations. Maybe we don't want the life we were told we should want. Maybe success means something different to us now. Maybe we're beginning to care more about peace than achievement, more about health than appearance, more about meaningful relationships than being impressive, more about time than things, more about being present than being productive. And that can be disorienting because we're changing the questions. Instead of asking, "What am I supposed to do?" we begin asking, "What actually matters to me now?" And I think that's much more of an important question. Maybe you're not lost. Maybe the old map simply doesn't work anymore. Maybe the life you built was right for an earlier version of you. And maybe you're allowed to create something different now. That doesn't mean you have to throw everything away. You don't have to quit your job, move across the country, change your entire life overnight. Sometimes change is much quieter than that. Maybe it's taking a walk because you realize you need more time outside. Maybe it's making time for something creative again. Maybe it's taking care of your body. Maybe it's saying no to something you used to automatically say yes to. Maybe it's admitting you're tired. Maybe it's finally allowing yourself to want something different. Sometimes finding yourself isn't about discovering one grand purpose. Maybe it's simply becoming more honest about what feels right and what doesn't. And then listening and taking the next step and then listening again. There's something very peaceful about realizing that we don't have to have the whole path figured out. We just have to be willing to walk it. So if you're in a season where you feel uncertain, if you don't quite recognize yourself, if you're wondering what comes next, maybe you don't need to find your way back to who you were. Maybe you don't need to rush to figure out who you're going to become. Maybe for now, you can simply pay attention to what is changing, to what is calling you, to what no longer fits, and to what quietly makes you feel more alive. Because maybe you're not lost. Maybe you're changing. And maybe that's not something you need to fix. Maybe it's something you need to trust. Thank you for spending this time with me. And until next time, take good care of yourself.